When I say the word pirate, your mind wanders to an ostentatious buccaneer flamboyantly touring the seven seas in search of loot. But the modern pirate is much different. Today's pirates go unnoticed in a crowd. They stand parallel to the commoner, indistinguishably. The modern pirate does not boast of his crimes. His work is silent and reaching. We are talking about the modern pirate, the internet pirate. In this documentary, I am exploring as to why online piracy is a stigma. As we speak, I am currently on my way to meet with Dr. C. Hook, a self-proclaimed internet piracy expert.
Here's your whiskey, sir.
Hello,
Hey,
I'm Peter, but my friends call me Pan.
nice to meet you, Mr. Pan.
So, let's get to the question, shall we?
Absolutely.
So why do you think piracy is considered a stigma?
Piracy is considered a stigma because it's often associated with theft. However, I would argue they're two different things. As Marcus Persons, creator of Minecraft, once said, if you steal a car, the original's lost. But if you copy a game, there's simply more of them in the world. I definitely agree with that point.
So you mentioned that when you copy a game, it's not considered stealing because the original isn't theirs, but yet the original game developer loses out on money from a sale because his game is copied. So how is it justified?
I would say that piracy is justified because unlike a normal product where you can walk into a store and you can pick it up and feel it, and see any problems it has with it, you have no idea what you're getting with a digital product until you drop $60 on it, bring it home and put it into your computer. What piracy is it's almost just like a demo. It allows you to kind of see what you're buying before you pay for it. Now, a lot of people would argue, well, demos already exist. But one of the things about demos is they're only available for single-player games. And even then, you still only get to see what the producer wants you to see. EA is commonly been put under fire for releasing games early before they're ready so that they can get more money from their investors. And their games come out buggy and with tons of errors and server problems, and they're not fixed until a month later when the game should have been released. And piracy puts a checks and balances on that, because what people can do is they can pirate the game, play it, and if they see these problems, they don't buy it. And that makes sense to me.
That's a good comparison. I never actually thought about it that way. But anyways, on to the next question. Recently there's been a bigger push for legislation against piracy, and if these laws and such were to actually go through, how do you think people would react?
Well, as we can see with the SOPA bill, people will not react lightly. People took up arms. There was protests and petitions all against it, because it really isn't just a problem with theft and crediting. It's a problem of freedom of information. A good comparison to make is of piracy to libraries, for example, because they do the same thing. They buy a copy and then they lend it out of movies and books and video games. And the only difference between them is that torrenting sites are online, which isn't that big of a difference considering that libraries are in the process these days of uploading everything online anyways. If the government started limiting what libraries could put online and what libraries could have inside of their businesses, people would go nuts. They'd be like, why are you taking our books away? So I mean, it really is more than just a problem of theft. It's important to keep in mind that by limiting piracy, you're limiting the freedom of the information that's normally available to you and me.
Yeah, that's a good point. And come to think of it, I've heard that in a lot of other countries, people pirate software that's actually unavailable, like things that are banned, for example. But yeah, anyways, thanks for your time.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I'm on my way to meet with Dr. C.J. Sparrow, an expert statistician and writer of the book Piracy Now, A Far Cry from the Past.
Ah, Mr. Pan. Very nice to meet you.
Thanks for meeting with me.
Of
course. Have a seat. Ah, thank you.
Anyways, shall we get to the questions?
Sure.
So, Dr. C.J. Spiller, why are you so against piracy?
The reason I'm so against piracy is because most people who argue for piracy use the reason that it is a victimless crime, which is a really surface level argument. That according to the numbers and the statistics, piracy is not at all a victimless crime.
So if piracy isn't a victimless crime, who are the victims?
So the victims are the people that created whatever is being pirated and everyone that is associated with that work. Because now they're no longer being rewarded for what they did. Like, for example, a website called Napster went up in 1999, and it's a file sharing website allowing people to pirate music. And in the music industry, there was a 47% drop in sales. And the revenue, or the money in the music industry, went from $14.6 billion to $7.7 billion. It was a significant drop. So now the artists and everyone who made the music, everyone who was involved, are not getting rewarded for what they did.
So you're a statistics man. Might I ask how many songs get pirated?
Well, I don't have the numbers for this year, but I do have the figures from 2004 to 2009. Roughly 30 billion songs were illegally downloaded on file-sharing websites like Napster, because a lot more of them went up, making it more convenient for people to pirate songs off of the internet.
So out of any of the industries that piracy affects, I hold that sound piracy is the most. Can you give me the numbers on that?
Well, being the statistics man that I am, I happen to have the figures right here. And I can confidently tell you that $12.5 billion is lost to sound piracy each year, and that workers end up losing $2.7 billion of those dollars in earnings. Also, this sound piracy costs 71,060 jobs annually. And also, the government ends up losing $422 million in tax revenue, 291 of which is personal tax and 131 million of corporate tax income.
So essentially you're saying that motives do not matter.
Well, there are good motives to how piracy is justified, but when you put a number on the amount of people that are getting hurt in the process and the amount of money lost in the economy, this really isn't a victimless crime. So statistically speaking, piracy is bad.
Then thank you for meeting with me today.
Well, anything for an old friend, Pan.
So today we explored the effects of online piracy and the arguments for and against it. As we said, we are ever so closer to answering the question, should piracy be illegal? You'll have to decide that for yourself.